afternoon. How was lunch? Woo! Hello, we'll get started. That way we can have some question and answer time. And then later on, again, at 5:30, 5:30ish, we go to educated palate. We can chit-chat some more about this if you want to take it to the next level, the soft skills. So, and I'll be serving the beverages in the back bar. Oh, we should be back there. So welcome. Even though I don't drink, I don't mind.
Oh, we'll be soft, all right.
Okay. So welcome. My name is Sandy Jones. I met most of you at the registration desk. I'm from Los Alamos College in Pittsburgh, which is about 50 miles east of here. I teach for the computer science department. So this was a subject that was near and dear to me because I've been coming to MPIC functions for the last 3 years, and everybody else says, this is what those students need. No matter how technical they are, they need it. So what I ended up doing is rewriting my course outlines, right, from 1.5-unit course and beefed it up, and then made it a 3-unit full semester course. And you can do the same thing too, and I'll show you how to do it. And you can infuse soft skills into just about anything you teach. Okay? So not only do I teach the intro to computers, help desk, but computer forensics, believe it or not, there's a component in Chapter 8, page 544 of the Cengage book that says, hey, we want a resume, right? And, you know, they're already starting to develop the soft skills at the computer forensics level, you know. So it was amazing to see that. So I want to teach you and share with you and enrich your life on how you can do it too for your classes. All right, so basically when you infuse soft skill training into your classes, you're teaching these components of how students can develop their personal skills, social skills, communication, as well as self-management behaviors. So you might have some students who know it all, and I do too, right? But and I tell them, I said, pants up, hats off, right? You want to do that at a regular job, so don't do it here, right? And this is not Burger King. You can't have it your way, okay? They don't know. And the biggest pet peeve is when you get the ones that want to just overpower you and overshadow you, and I tell them, are you going to law school? Because this is the wrong class, you know? If you're not, then chill out, cool down, you know? You'll not only learn something, but you can infuse this in your everyday life, okay? So, start with a resume. It seems silly, but maybe the second week of class, have them build a resume, a simple resume. Don't use the templates in Microsoft Word, but actually have a form. And I keep mine simple. I have objective, education, experience, references. Real simple, okay? Name, address, city, state, email address centered in the top. Real simple. And have them see where they are at the beginning of the semester and see where they are at the end of the semester. Because believe it or not, having them add the skills to their resume as they acquire it during the semester will not only make them more valuable, but they will gain the hands-on training. Like if you have Office 2010, how many of you are familiar with that and you teach that at your college? Okay, so we teach it in our intro and our emerging technologies course. But some schools are still on 2007. Yeah, or 3. I do trainings for Kaiser, you know, and they're still on 2003 at some hospitals, right? So by the end of the semester, some of the students, at least at our college, LMC, they've enhanced their resume at least by 25%. And the reason why is if they took an A+ class, right, which are usually half-semester courses, right, at the end of 9.5 weeks, they would know some hardware, some software, right? Some of their other 9.5-week classes, like our web design courses, they can add that and add value to their resume, okay? And as mentioned before, the Cengage book guide to computer forensics and investigations, which is an entry-level course that I teach, they have that in Chapter 8, which they require students. And I do it as a hands-on activity, okay? Boost their vocabulary, okay? You've done it before with your resume, so let's share the knowledge with them and have them boost their vocabulary, okay? So instead of, I did this or I completed this, have them say implemented, you know, design, develop, you know, all those buzzwords. And you would know as well, for those of you who write course outlines, and I do every semester or rewrite ours to update them, these are the things that your curriculum committee looks for, those buzzwords. That's how you get them passed as and being friends with the people on the committee helps too, you know. So if you teach them early on, you're developing their skills not only at the JC level, but also when they get to the four-year college level. And I always tell them, I never grade in red pen, because when I was a student, I used to get a lot of red marks, okay? And it wasn't because I thought I was a okay writer, but they want to enhance your skills. And there's always upper division English, right? English 3000 at Cal State. They're going to expect this. So I just try to say, hey, let's start now. Okay, I have high hopes for all of you as my students. If you transfer, if you don't, at least you have the skill set. Okay? So these are some of the lists. And I don't mind sharing my slides. So afterwards, if you're interested, give me your email and I'll send it to you as soon as I get home tonight. Okay? Don't mind at all. Those were, by the way, action verbs, right? Also infuse action adjectives and adverbs as well. And so this is my short, 50-cent list for you. Okay? That you could share with your students too. So when they're writing their resume, have them use some of these buzzwords, okay, to not only boost their vocabulary, but boost their self-confidence also. They are able to articulate and, speak well, right? Because a lot of times I'll turn it over to them and, we'll have these practice sections. So practice developing workplace skills. Now, besides being on time and not being late and calling in sick, you want to teach them how to certain skills can help you in today's workplace. There's a lot of competition out there, right? No jobs, right? So they say, IT fields going, overseas and being outsourced. Well, according to the BLS, 2018, we had some promising numbers, right? And so determine what skills they have now and strengthen them. Take those weaknesses, take those lemons, turn them into lemonade, and also take action to improve your skills right now. And it can be done throughout the course of the semester. So a lot of our employers right now, they're looking for basic skills. The reading, the writing, the math. A simple email, right? Spell check it, grammar check it before you send it off. Thinking skills. They want to say, hey, how would you, prioritize a call? If you had 5 things at a help desk, the president needs his color Christmas pictures, the network is down, payroll needs a new monitor. How would you prioritize it? So these are the critical thinking skills that employers will ask, prospective employees. It's done before. I don't know how many interviews I've been, panel interviews, where they shoot the questions at you, and before you're done, the next one's already, spewing another one out. So I wanted to share that with the students and say, this is what it's really like in the real world. Go for a government job, city or county, this is what's going to happen. Expect 4 or 5 people looking at you. And shooting questions out at you. Personal management skills, self-motivated, be dependable, and the ability to manage stress. I was a type A all the way, Couldn't sit down, thought I was ADD, even back then. But if you develop these skills to say, just wait, calm down, put some thought into it, your actions will speak louder than words as far as being able to analyze the problem, deal with it, and resolve it, okay? And, of course, interpersonal skills, being able to communicate and work as part of a team. How many of you like to work with coworkers and a team? Tell the truth. Or by yourself. Okay? Yeah. So depending on what it is, sometimes I like to be a lone ranger. I could get it done, just tell me what you need done. But sometimes you're forced to work with other people, even though you might not want to. And it happens in everyday life, and I tell people that's how it is, Again, it's not Burger King. If I didn't want to work with my coworkers, I might not have a job, right? So it's not like you have to marry them, And I know there's a 55-60% divorce rate, but that's just the way it is. And so that's why I put them in groups right off the bat. How many of you have group work with your students? And this is online or face-to-face, basically, right? You can put groups of, people randomly together to work well in group projects and then share the results, okay? So many employers expect you to read and understand policy manuals. Simple manuals, whether it's an employee manual, whether it's a department manual, they expect that. They want you to be able to locate information. And in my subsequent slides, you're going to be really surprised what eBay has. Clearly write memos, letters, or reports. Basic skills. And students are not taught these things, right? So in your classes, whatever IT courses you teach, you can infuse all of these into your curriculum. Basic computer knowledge, not just emailing or texting or instant messaging, but actual basic computer skills. Okay? Office 2010 is a plus, so you have that on your resume. And then, of course, demonstrate general math skills. They raised the bar a lot, and I spoke to somebody today about math skills, and when it came to statistics, when I was in college, I used to run from it, you know. But if you start early on, I'm sure that you can teach your students to say, hey, you don't have to be a, A student because a D is still passing. Not that you want them to get a D, but, try to work with your students. If you're good at math, maybe offer tutoring during your lab hours. I do all the time. My students not only come for computer help, but they say, oh, can you help me with algebra or, some statistics or, and it flows, right? And when they get the concepts, sometimes math is difficult until you learn the tips and tricks. How many of you agree with me? Right? Once you got the concept down, like the y equals mx plus b, it's like, okay, what does this relate to? Then you can formulate it and get that, pattern going. Don't you agree? Okay. So these are the kind of things that you can help your students increase their knowledge, right? Enhance their math skills, and these are all part of soft skills that employers are looking for. Practice spelling entire words when they're sending emails. I tell my students, if you send me anything like, abbreviated stuff, it's going to go in the trash. Bottom line, I don't do OMGLL, BFK, AFK, all that kind of stuff. I don't. So you could say, hi, Mrs. J, blah, 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 can you meet me in the lab, I need help, things like that. But I try to encourage them to spell out the words. That way, if they don't know how to spell it, spell check will catch it. They can correct it, and then they can send it to me. Okay? How many of you do that with your students now?
Professional standards for when they write emails.
Good.
Yeah, they're supposed to. Now, what's up, dude? What did I miss? That doesn't work.
Okay, good. Good, good.
Question for what's the consequence of that? Do you not respond?
I have, the only thing I really have a software for is if they don't put the class name in section, they get sent an email that looks like it's automatically generated, but it says, dear sir or madam, there's insufficient messaging. Please resend if you are a salesman, do not respond. It looks like that formal, and I tell them I have an algorithm, Hal, that does this, but it's really just me going, you stupid jerk. Or I'm not going to respond. And so the consequence of rejected mail is that if it's a late paper, it's getting later. You got to send it in right. And you have to be hard on them, because if you're not hard on them, they find weaknesses and they go, oh, that's the part of the room I don't want to live in where the weaknesses are. So it's really hard. It's really
I agree with you.
So I have one too, because I understand about the abbreviations, but do you call them on really bad grammar?
I do, especially if it's, it's misspelled, especially if like, oh, what are you trying to say, that you want to have me open up Blackboard because you missed the test deadline?
Yeah. Yeah.
My online class, I opened it up from Monday, 2 o'clock in the morning, till Saturday, 11 p.m. Sunday's a Sabbath day, right? Everybody should have a day of rest, right? Right? And my DSPS students, my disabled students, I open up the classrooms for them. Well, time after time, I have this one student, she's a dear heart. She's trying. She's really, really trying. But she'll say, I missed the 2 o'clock deadline on Sunday. Well, I'm sitting at my desk. You don't understand. I'm not at the mall or out in the park with my kids, I'm sitting here making sure you can log on up to 2 o'clock. After that, I got to get ready to cook for Mom, I got cars to wash, things to do, places to go, So this is the types of things we run into, okay? So I said, meet me in the lounge. We'll talk about it. I try to be compassionate about people's problems, Everybody has family issues, right? I tell them I have 5 kids, a mom and a husband. That's a lot. Come on now. This is college. I'm preparing you for the future. If you don't get it now, you're not going to get it later. Go to Cal State East Bay. I'll give you a list of my teachers. They don't play. So that's why I try to get them to see the light now. Okay? Great.
If you have trouble with them with the abbreviations or slang and stuff, just give them back stuff that they don't understand.
Technical terms, right?
In New York City, and we had substitutions things, trying to get a message across all the doors are closing on the subway. I start talking to them like that, and they have no clue what I'm saying.
Right.
If you want to understand me, you've got to do the same.
Exactly.
That's how people communicate.
Right. And the The sooner they learn it, the better it will be for them. Okay. All right, successful employees basically are self-confident. They believe in themselves. If you know that they're good spellers and they can articulate that in good emails and write good reports for you, they're self-confident. They know that this is what I need to get the job done. Aside from teaching, I do high school articulations. I go out and try to market our programs for computer science, saying, hey, come at 14. Did you know you can come for $1 a unit? Did most of you know that? Okay. Last year I did a presentation here at MPIC on that. And a lot of colleges will not do that and go out and solicit their students. We do because, number one, I'm part-time. I've been there for 11 years. But, hey, if my numbers are low, I'm not teaching, right? If my numbers are high and a full-timer doesn't meet their numbers, they're going to steal my class. So I do it for my whole department. I said, I'm doing this for everybody, right? I'm sharing the wealth because I want my student load, okay, as well as I want you to make sure you have your 20 students, okay? So some of the things that I let them know, at 14 you can start, you know, junior college. A lot of these colleges, San Mateo, and I believe here at City College, they can come for free. It doesn't cost anything. In our department at LMC, we have all the books for every computer science class we teach. Therefore, pay $1 a unit. Three units is $3. Come use our books for free. Yeah, beat that. $1 a unit. And if they choose to take online, they have the option of coming into the lab at night after school if they wanted to, or just buy the book. It's up to them. But we're going to, you know, give that cheap education. Okay? I have 3 kids. My older son followed my lead. My middle daughter, she's in the Marines, 19 years old, know-it-all. Thinks she's going to be a, you know, prosecutor. And my little one, who's 8, I said, you're already going to college at 14. You might as well I'm going to be working there for a while, so you might as well pick an online class, any class. Just start your college career early. And when you do so, you can learn a lot of these skills. And a lot of these kids who do start early, how many of you encourage your students at your college? Any high school students? Okay.
Well, they come and visit. I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so if they start at 14 and start taking college classes, right, by the time they graduate, technically when they're seniors, they've almost finished half of an AA degree, right? If they've been on track, went to summer school, did the right thing, and it works, it's proven, okay? And so that's what we try to promote as well. And so with my department, I tell them, I said, well, last year we developed 3 new AS degrees and certificate programs. In this economy, that was really good, okay? So I have a really good, strong advisory board, and these are the things that they emphasize. Okay, if they're 14, if they're 16, they can come work for us, but we want them to have these skills, okay? So when they're self-motivated, like all of you are, you were enthusiastic back in the day, right? Hardworking, right? Cooperative, right? Because we have to. That's how we were taught, right? So we want to share that with our younger generation. As far as being responsible, we always tell them, be on time. We're not doing Hawaiian time here, okay? My family's from the islands. They're always late, you know? Be 10 or 15 minutes early. Have a cup of coffee, you know, relax, you know? And then you'll be able to start work in a relaxed environment. Being honest, admitting mistakes and learning from the experience is a big one that I always emphasize. Okay, if you made a mistake, just, you know, say it. That way you learn from it, but only the truth shall set you free, I tell them, right? Questions posed to prospective employees. This is a good one because a lot of people, you know, they always say, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses? But a lot of these interviewers that I'm seeing, because I sit in sometimes on panel interviews, they're seeing a different light, a different shade nowadays compared to when we applied for jobs. So they're asking, what's your greatest weakness? Okay, mine is I talk a mile a minute. Yes, Jen, I've been working on it for the last 32 years. I've been working, still talk a mile a minute. What don't you like about your current or previous employer?
Pardon me. Can you back up?
Okay.
Okay, I talk a mile a minute.
Okay.
Let's say you're the interviewee.
Okay.
And then would you say, I talk a mile a minute?
I do, and I tell them that up front. If once they get to know me, see, it's not all about being technical. If you know your stuff, right? They want to see your interpersonal skills. They want to see how you problem solve, right? So when I tell them, I'm working on it. It's been a journey, but I'm still working on it, you know? It's a work in progress. So it makes it sound, take a negative and turn it into a positive. Right. So it could be anything. So give me an example of what your weakness is, anybody? Really? Oh my Michael, you're so perfect. That's what we love about you. So if you were going for an actual job and somebody asked you, what would you say?
I'm a perfectionist and I tend to spend too much time on the job and I'll often work weekends. So that's my biggest weekend.
You know, people like that answer, believe it or not.
I've interviewed a million times. They love it.
They do.
Your greatest weakness is that you care too much or you work too hard.
Yes, yes. And I'm the type of person, I do contract work on the side, of course, and I tell my prospective employers, I said, look, I don't nickel and dime you guys. If it takes me 100 hours to do the job, I'm not going to bill you 100 hours. I'll bill you half. Only because I have the Girl Scout mentality, right? And I'm methodical. I like to do it right. And if it takes me longer, you're not going to pay the cost for that, okay? And it's not always about money. I mean, I'm waiting on the lotto. I don't know about you. That $206 million that somebody in New York won, I'm so upset with them. But it takes money to make money. So if you have that mentality and you instill that in your students, then they don't think, oh, it's all about the mighty dollar all the time, what I can get. No, because when you're not looking for work, work comes to me. When I want to work, like here at City College, like doors are closed, right? Because there's no jobs, they're cutting back the budget, right? Things like that. So I just tell my students, sit back, just breathe, just relax, you know, and try to think of you being in that driver's seat of the employer, okay? If these questions that you pose to them, what would they say, okay? I like that response, though. What would you do to improve our product, service, or concept? Not like you have to change the world, but if you have suggestions. And in your computer classes, even in networking, I tell my students, so if that Apple iPhone could be improved or enhanced, what would you do? And
Make it cheaper.
Cheaper, battery life, right? Things like that. Intuitive skills, right? Yeah. And these are what employers are looking for. These kind of like, just sit back, breathe, think about this for a minute. And I tell them, you don't have to just constantly spew out answers. Take a moment to breathe and think about it before you respond. What salary do you want? We have a session on negotiating skills, and it's not only about salaries. We tell them everything is negotiable. When you buy cars, I can be in the dealership for 8 hours and negotiate till I get my oil changed, my car mats, everything that I want for a new car. Okay? Salary. Why start out at the bottom? A lot of jobs will say, well, this is what we're paying. Well, you know what? I have these skills. Your students have probably taken networking or A+, or some type of forensics, right? Customer service skills. That's worth something, right? So start at maybe mid-range or higher, right? Don't sell yourself short. Okay, and that's what a lot of people try to do. With colleges, you see what the ranges are out there, right? You know who pays the highest hourly rate within the 110 community colleges? Who can tell me? Anybody know? Right here, City College. Oh my goodness! And some of the other community colleges are like $40 an hour, even in the higher end districts. Right? Or out in the suburb, wilderness areas, right? So negotiate your skills, right? You're worth something. And it doesn't have to be according to their pay scale. So if you have certifications, if you have experience, industry, certs especially, that really, really helps you get up that
You need to research the range.
That's right.
Because if you go too far out, above or below.
That's right. So I give them websites like salary.com, right? So I'll give them 10 jobs within the IT field, IT industry. Go research it and tell me who the companies are, how much they pay, what the averages are, right? And then we do this in Excel too, so I teach them a little about formulas, right? So they can, enhance their skills with Excel as well as we're learning. Okay?
Well, you bring up a good point about skills negotiation, because that one question right there is usually the hook, line, sinker on a lot of interviews. And to get beyond that takes a skill within itself, especially to get them to negotiate on their side.
Right. So sometimes employers, like the students that I have companies that will provide internships for my students, city, county government. A help desk near our campus, 5 minutes away, just hired 30 of my help desk students. Last year, this time, they hired 49, and they only wanted our students. They didn't have to have a degree. But I said, you know what, they're not going to come in for $6, $7 an hour. They have the skill. They know how to track it in these online databases and knowledge bases. pay them for what they're worth, right? So they bring them in at $14 an hour with benefits.
Wow.
Flexible schedules. The people who want to work at 5 in the morning till 1, boom, you got it, because they have New York clients. How many of you use Pearson VUE? Oops, anybody? Okay, so it's a help desk that handles Pearson VUE, T-Mobile, American Medical Response. It's a big, huge help desk out in Antioch. And they're growing, and they just added another educational partner, right? So they need these people with skill sets, right? So when my class was a unit and a half, I said, wow, you know, I'm getting through 13 chapters in 9 weeks, right? I'm not having them learn the soft skills component, and they want to undercut my students. So my thing is, you go to bat for them, they'll come back for other programs, like networking and security, like programming, right? This is, you know, where we can get it, you know, in at that point, right? So negotiating skills, I always tell them, if you have a skill level, you're worth something. Don't come in, don't offer yourself at the bottom, you know, right? And the cost of living and rents and everything like that, you have to factor all these things in, because a lot of my students are, you know, not living at home with their parents, right? They're out there paying rent, and, you know, it's not feasible for them to go to school, be successful, and work 2 and 3 jobs in order to, you know, just make it, right? So, teaching a little bit about that. Questions posed to employers, part 2, is do you prefer working with others or alone? And some of you said with people or alone, right? So thank you for your honesty there. How do you operate as a team player? Do you want to be like one in charge? What do you usually have to respond to that? You personally. Feel free, chime in.
I like collaborating.
Okay. Okay, good.
Collaborative.
Collaborative. So say you're designing your own website, like the ultimate website, and you had 3 people. You had the idea, you brought in your friend, and then you brought in somebody else who you thought was your friend who wants to take over. And said, I got a PhD and you don't. How would you feel? And they called you every day and say, hey, I'm disappointed about the lack of progress here. We're not, you know, up and running yet. How would you feel? Threateningly cut your losses, right?
I think roles need to be clearly defined.
Okay.
Roles need to be clearly defined. I like collaboration,
Good.
I get collaboration as well.
Good.
But sometimes people say they want a collaboration, but they don't step up to take responsibility for certain
Right.
things.
Right. So how many of you have assigned group projects in your classes? Does it work? They get along?
I'd like to respond just a second. It's mandated at my school because we believe that's the way of the future. You'll be working with an IT team in Japan, and they'll transfer the information to London, and then it'll go to New York, and it's all with the class. So we really strongly believe in group projects, but there are 2 major flaws with group projects. Number 1 is the slacker. And how you grade a group when one of the members of the team is a slacker, and that consumes many hours of negotiation trying to figure that one out. And the other one is the type A person just takes over, and then everybody's playing on their cell phone while the type A person types up the paper. So you really, for groups to work, you have to be one of the members of the group, and you have to move to the next group, and you have to just constantly be listening. And when they start talking about World of Warcraft or something else, you got to go, let's focus back on the project. It takes constant attention to run a group. You can't just run a group and do the crossword puzzle.
It's not an equally assigned one. I know because I do a computer lab, and I'll put a team of 4 together and give them the problem to solve, you know, whether it's manual or software. And I'll let it go on, and 2 have taken over, and 2 are just standing around, and I say, freeze. And okay, what's wrong with this picture? And each one of them has to answer for themselves. Those that have the leadership skills that say, okay, you're either older or you have leadership skills, whatever the reason is you're taking over the project, as you will do, you need to look at, you've got 2 people standing around idle. So you're costing your company 50% of the cost of what's going on. How can you utilize those skills? If you want to be leaders, you have to take the responsibility.
Okay, good.
And then the quiet ones will say, now, if you're idle, you need to talk to the people that are leaders and say, I'm not at work, would you like me to do this, or what would you like me to do? So I put the onus on both, not just one or the other.
Very good. Mike?
I was just going to say, too, the first thing to do with a group
sometimes is to have them write out exactly what they're going to do, so they have something to be accountable to.
Exactly.
If you just let it start, it's a good thought.
Exactly.
Get folks ready.
That's right, right off the get-go. How would you handle this in an online environment, for those of you who teach online? Group work.
Well, in many ways, it's easier because online everything's documented.
Yeah.
Very easy
That's
to
right.
do is not participate.
Right. Who's submitting, who's responding, right? You might pose a question, respond to 2 people using positive feedback, right? And it might not be all the people in the group, right? They do it in the political science class all the time. I was able to access one of my colleagues' class because my student was having a hard time with the instructor. I said, well, let me see her teaching style, right? Not to, undermine her or anything, but let me see what she's asking. I said, simple, it's simple. You're group B, you're supposed to respond to 2 people, about a city council meeting you attended. Provide feedback, that's all it was. Simple. Nobody's asking you to be a rocket scientist. You just got to follow the directions, and if you don't, not all the teachers are like me, or I'm not like them, right? So you just have to follow their lead, okay? So for the most part, I could say that I like working with groups. If given an assignment, I could do it. And bottom line, when I was a college student, I said, look, I don't know about you, but I want that A, I'm not going to do everybody's work, and we're going to delegate here, and everybody's going to do their share. We're going to meet, we're going to greet, we're going to make sure this project gets started from finish to end, okay? So if you have that understanding up front, let your students know. That's how you will be able to take these collaborative skills to the next level and in the future, right? Can you handle pressure? Who can handle pressure and multitask? Yeah, yay, Elaine. Good.
Screaming, yelling.
I find that it's not very effective with 3 kids and mom and husband. It doesn't work. I take the gentler approach. At least I try.
In the voice of John, in a former corporate life, my job as an interviewer was to ask the impossible questions.
Okay.
Ask a question that I knew they would not know an answer to, just to see whether they would say, I don't know,
Right.
or whether they would bluff their way through it.
Right,
And that
okay.
goes back to stopping, thinking about it.
That's right.
If they gave me an answer that I knew was wrong, forget it. They didn't make it.
Exactly.
I would much rather have them say, I have no clue, but I'll figure it out.
That's right. Or I'll find the answer, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Well, that's a good way of checking on their honesty. An online technique that high school teachers uses, when they have to evaluate each other on who did what work, and one student in the first project said, oh, I did half the work or most of the work, and did very little. All she did was pull up one thing and slightly edited it, and that was it. Well, because it's online, structured in completely everything, so she said, clearly, this is all that you had done. You scold one person, and everybody knows about it. She says, when I do that, I have the first incident, and it gets around, and nobody else tries to.
Great. Get over it, right? That's right. Exactly. That's right. And it doesn't matter if it's IT courses. I see it in Speech 40 courses where you have to work together, right, to come up with a group project at the end, whether it's an English class, history, political science, these skills are infused, in those type of courses also. So basically for me, handling pressure, working on this PowerPoint at 1 o'clock this morning to fine tune it. My husband will say, why do you wait till the last minute? Because I work well under pressure. I don't know why, but give me something, or James give me something, and he wants it by Tuesday, it'll get done. That's just how I operate. But all right.
But if you ever read this interview questions, I know you want to move on, but that sounds sort of like how many golf balls can fit into a school bus?
Yes, and it's coming up. You're
really?
one step ahead of me with eBay. This is so cool. Yes, you are so right. Oh, how many people know how many rows are on their corn cob? Cob of corn. Corn cob. How many rows? Anybody? On average. Yeah. How many rows? I mean, 16 on average. Yeah. So if you ever say that on Jeopardy, you know the answer, right? So you never know. You might be throwing out obscure questions, right? And this is really good. Willie, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I had the opportunity of going to the eBay Network Operating Center in San Jose. Very interesting tour. It was for educators. And one of my questions posed to the hiring manager said, hey, I'm from Los Medanos College. I want my students to intern with you. They'll come all the way down here for free, right? They just need some hands-on experience in the networking department. And he said, these are the kind of questions we ask. How many manhole covers are in San Francisco? And he expects this prospective employee to come up with an answer.
As many as necessary.
Okay?
We don't call them that.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
You have a question like, why is that important?
They just think, looking at your critical thinking skills. This is the whole process. And the second question was, he asked, for real, how would you curb homelessness in your community, right? So this is their response. Believe it or not, check this out.
First one, as many manholes as there are.
If you said, I'll Google it, wrong, you may not get that job. And he told me off of that, he is the hiring manager at eBay. I'm trying to get him on the advisory board for Evergreen College, right, because he's so good, right, and it's down in the valley, that these are the kind of skills these kids need to know. Hey, you just don't go to Wikipedia, you just don't go to Google, right? Sit there for a minute, just think. Just like the corn on the cob, where would you get the answers for that, right? Google, right? Right? But if you say, let me think about it. Maybe I'll check with the San Francisco Public Works Department. Okay? So you're actually taking their thinking process to the next level, right? Who would think of public works, right? I mean, we know it, but our students don't know, being young and naive, right? Okay? Second, they might say, I know a church in my community that offers free meals, child care, employment opportunities, maybe showers. Our church used to offer all of that, right? To curb homelessness. They used to feed people once a week and give out food bags. So these are the types of questions, for instance, eBay will ask prospective interns or employees. Fresh out of college, they could have a bachelor's degree, be as technical as heck, have all the certs they have under their belt, but if they gave any kind of answer like that, I'll Google it, they won't get considered. And he told me that straight face. Okay?
Well, let me ask about that. So you don't say I'll Google it, but you may end up behind their back going to Google the Public Works Department.
And when you bring it up, it comes up with 200,000 hits, by the way. For that. If you put how many manhole covers are there in San Francisco, you get 200,000 hits. And the very first one would say something answers.com, right? The website, and it'll say San Francisco Public Works. But just to get them to think, right, outside the bun, give your students examples like this. Hey, eBay is a cool place to work, right? But don't say these type of answers. Get them to slow down and think. That was the whole critical thinking
Think
process.
without getting a deer in the headlights.
Right. Right. And you can come up with other questions too. Experiences that you had personally when you interviewed, right?
Well, Microsoft does that. They ask a very brain teacher kind of question. You need to transport 2,000 bananas across 500 miles. The camel can only carry 1,000 at a time. He eats one banana per mile. What's the maximum number of bananas you can get across the desert?
Right. And they expect you to come up with a mathematical number, right?
Here's
Or close
the
to it.
whiteboard. Here's
Right. Exactly.
your market. Go through it.
My husband doesn't like me to say it, and it's not on my slides, but he works for IBM. And when he got interviewed, they asked him, so if it was 6:30 on the clock, what degree would it be? Degree? Like, you got to be kidding, right? But they'll ask obscure questions. And that back then he was a CE, fixing the ATM machines. But as he progressed on, now he's an IMS systems engineer, they ask him questions like that all the time. If you want to get promoted, these are the type of weird questions they'll throw at you, right? Even though it has nothing to do with the job, it's beyond the scope, they'll throw out questions like that. Okay? And that's IBM down the street. Okay, other possible questions that they might pose. I have a gentleman who's with the Byron Unified School District. He sits on my advisory board. And he says to his interns, download the drivers for us. Send us USB drive and tell me how it's done. Right? Get it for me. Download the drivers. And he times the students. No joke. And guess what? You don't need it because it's plug and play, but the students don't know that. So they're going on these websites trying to figure it out. Teach them things like this. You don't need it, right? Are peer-to-peer networks safer than a server-based network, right? Definitely not, right? Peer-to-peer is so open, right? Teach them things. Kaiser sits on my advisory board too. Would you access information for family or friends using resources, right? Like, ooh, what did that person have, Or banking information, I get a lot of that too. Definitely not, because of the HIPAA laws out there, the American Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, there's still penalties, right? Even the police departments, if you go in and search out somebody, that stuff comes up on the log. Big Brother's watching, right? So you always want to make sure, just because you have access to that information, don't abuse it.
only good for big brothers.
Right. Exactly. Advice from the experts at Microsoft. This is a direct recruiting manager. She says the people who will get the jobs, they want them to be very bright, smart enough to face and solve problems. They never imagine on their plates that to be very passionate. The word passionate, right? Another adjective. About the software industry and how it will change the world. So people who say, I just need a job, I'm broke, I'm going to be homeless and lose my house, they're not going to get the job. So these are the kind of things that Microsoft's looking for. Pfizer. So I went across the board. I went from IT, now I'm going to pharmaceuticals. The do's are, to get a job is demonstrate the ability to be a team player. Emphasize that with your students by showing that you have participated or volunteered on a cross-functional team beyond the project in your previous or current job. Okay? Again, teamwork. Don't oversell yourselves. Don't become arrogant. Don't become self-confident or cocky, right? Big no-no. And again, cross-sector. Disney will recruit people who have a history of excellence in 4 key areas, not only just education, work experience, technical skills, but some non-technical skills, and I see that a lot as well. They want you to be able to multitask, juggle different things. Do this, but drop this, but go do this. Okay? Johnson & Johnson, they want you to be able to cooperate with people across different functions, business units, because they're everywhere, right? They're worldwide, and they want you to be comfortable with change as well. Sprint wants you to be flexible. And when I tell my students flexible, I mean like Gumby. Be flexible. Don't be so rigid that so-and-so can't count on you, okay? Because somebody else will want that job and could fill the shoes.
You say no, Gumby?
I got my little Gumby and Pokey back in the day. But these are really true things that I tell them, and these are, reliable hiring managers, feedback they give me. HP wants you to have proven technical skills and behavioral traits for optimum performance on the job. What's optimal? We'll get questions like that, Just be able to be technical, but, be able to go with the flow, be able to help each other, be able to work well with each other. Okay, Coca-Cola, they want people to give them examples of projects they worked and completed from beginning to end. So some of my tips and tricks for you is I assigned a group PowerPoint project to promote team building. So in my help desk class, which just ended, after we get through the 13 chapters, I tell my students, design your ideal help desk. Prices and options. Flat panel monitors, 22-inch, ergonomic chairs, wrist gel pads, anything you want. Foot rest, back rest, anything, right? To avoid what? Carpal tunnel, right? Disability claims, things like that. If your people are happy, your company will be happy, right? So they take the book, basically, and they go through all 13 chapters, and we put them in groups, and it's not cut and paste and copy because I would know, right? So it has to be in their own words, and, each person would have a section to complete. Offer enrichment projects. I don't offer extra credit. I said, this is not high school. The reason I call it enrichment is when you enrich other people's lives, like a lot of people have enriched your lives, you're learning something, right, from them? So they'll have to do, for 5 points, come up, give me a PowerPoint, or read a report that they developed, right? And it's an enrichment because you're sharing it with other people to enrich your lives. Okay?
Pardon me.
Sure.
Sandy, but enrichment, the word that comes into my head is passion.
Okay.
So it's like also possibly teaching them, make that passion something you enjoy doing.
Yes. Whether it's helping people, whether it's knowing a little bit more about a certain topic like in networking than somebody else might know. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay.
So, again, in your course syllabus, because, that's like a contract for your class, offer enrichment, Teaching tools part 2, suggest field trips, which classmates can collaborate, right, carpool together. And here in the Bay Area, we have the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, which is really cool. And what I have them do is write a little short report, 2-page report on it, and then turn it in, and they have to turn in their ticket stubs, right, to prove that they win, right? And for the most part, you're teaching them how to write a paper MLA style, introduction, body, conclusion. That's it. That's all I want, right? No more than 7 or 8 lines per paragraph. You will be surprised some of my students just continue on and on and on. Yeah. And it's like me telling them, take a breath. That's what I tell them, right? So you're learning skills, in this case, collaborative skills. I give them the MLA handout, okay, what an MLA format should be for internet resources, books, magazines, periodicals. This is what I like to share with you too. For whoever's interested, we have a library assignment. They don't have to go to the library like we had to and look up that Dewey Decimal System. It's an online database. So I give them a computer topic, and they go and seek out the information using online resources. This is really cool, and I'll share it with you. Infuse it in your class. It's really cool. Okay? Call it enrichment for 5 points. And we also have the Intel Museum, by the way. In this handout I just mentioned, we have an ebook collection, find out books that are available. We have academic search premier. They're going to have this in English 3000 at Cal State. Tell you right now, right? They're going to have to pick a topic and find these things out online. So why not start now at the JC level? Newspaper Source Plus, lots of newspaper articles, TV, radios, transcripts, videos, and podcasts. CQ Researcher is another one that has a single hot topic that they talk about once a week regarding technology, health, science, educational, and environmental issues. Simplify your grading. How many of you use Turnitin.com? Cool, huh? I love it. You have them turn in a paper to you, 7-page paper I require on some of my classes, and then they'll email you a paper, email the paper to you. You upload it, and you can check out plagiarism. If any form of plagiarism is detected, it'll come up with an originality report, and it'll tell you. Fortunately, this girl had 31 hits, which is like a cut and paste when I went to it and found it. Right? So this could simplify your grading, right? You give them feedback, right? Because you grade the paper, you know, pick it apart, right? But you also can tell if it's any form of plagiarism was in there. And the database, again, provides it for each individual student, which is really good. Okay, as you submit it. The one book I like to suggest, and you could jot this information down, is the book I use. I give my students 2 chapters a week. It's really easy to read. It's a really cool book. The Hard Truth About Soft Skills, Workplace Lessons, Smart People Wish They Learned Sooner by Peggy Klaus. And they put the ISBN number there too. Really inexpensive. You can get it on Amazon. And I use this as a supplement to my course, okay, in everything I teach, whether it's forensics, help desk, okay, or intro to computers. I'm going to go back, but I'm going to just put my contact information. Our college email is flaky because they're having problems with the server, but I use inspiredyourstudents@gmail.com, and I'm always up early in the morning or late at night, so feel free to email me. And one last thing I wanted to share with you is regarding team building, really quick, is I go to orientaltrading.com and I buy like a whole bunch of these, right? Looks like a what? Rubik's Cube, but it's really an eraser, right? I pick it apart. I give my students 5 minutes, 3 people in a team to put it back together, right? And intuitively, how many can do a Rubik's Cube? I can't, right? But what's cool about this is letters. So A fits in the B, B fits in the C. You know, it's really simple, but it promotes teamwork and collaborative work, right? And at the end, whoever gets it gets a little bag of M&Ms. You know, I'm big on M&Ms, peanuts. You know? And I'll just throw out like, good job, high five, you know what I mean? But these little things that hardly cost anything are team building skills to get people to work together. Okay, any questions? Any answers? Okay, I'll put up the book so you know. But this is a great source. Okay.
So, if you teach a class just in soft skills, do you incorporate this into all your computer classes?
Into all of them. 6 weeks, you'll get through this book. But if you wanted to do it, I do my ComSci 40, which is my introduction to computers. We take a little bit of it every week for the whole semester. The help desk course, it's help desk for, 13 or 10 weeks, basically, 6 weeks of this book, and then 1 week of comprehensive review. And because it's an online course, I do Jeopardy. I play Jeopardy with my students. And it's really cool because it tests them and it gets them ready for the final. Really cool.
You used to put together your game.
There's a lady named Kim Yohannan, EMC of Academic Alliance. She actually had this game, and I said, I do this in my face-to-face class, and we do it on the whiteboard. We put the money in the categories, but how would you do it on an online format? And she sent me her files on what she does, and I just plugged in my answers. So if you ever see her out there, she's here today, Kim Yohannan from EMC Academic Alliance. She'd be happy to share it with you.
There's also a piece of desktop software called Game Show Presenter that I use to do something similar to my reviews. There's one online too. Yeah.
Or you can use Wheel of Fortune format, fill in blank, give you face-to-face. But it's all good. Give them the materials, give them a week of review, and you have nothing but success for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.